Reality is that most people are not one paycheck away from being rich, but one paycheck.
Guys, I've officially hit that stage of being an adult where I am coming on to complain and moan about the cost of living. Like, sorry, but what is actually going on?
The price of living in the San Francisco Bay Area. You all had a lot of thoughts on my last video.
Guys, can I rant for a sec about energy costs in Central Ohio? Are you
The price of living in the San Francisco Bay Area. You all had a lot of thoughts on my last video where I'm apartment hunting in the San Francisco Bay Area where I was born and raised. I'm gonna give you a little context as to my background in the Bay Area and talk about the apartment search and the price of living in an area like this, especially as a single person. Now, here is the San Francisco Bay Area. I have lived there my entire life. I was relocated last January 2025 for a job offer that I received, which moved me to Utah where a lot of my friends currently live. But now that I'm self-employed, my business is actually located in Northern California, so I'm looking to move back. It's just about timing. I'm absolutely decided on moving back. It's just between whether I move this fall or I move early next year. But let's give you a little bit of context as to where I've lived in the Bay Area, where I'm looking to live, and why it's so expensive to live here. So I was born and raised in a town called Dublin, where 580 and 680 intersect. I stayed local for college and I actually went to Cal State Hayward, which is now named Cal State East Bay. After about a couple years after college, I moved out of my parents' house into a place in San Ramon with 3 other roommates. A lot of my friends growing up and through college and through my early 20s were all from like the Pleasanton, Livermore, San Ramon, Danville area, which is part of the reason why I'm looking at Walnut Creek as an option, because it would be close to my mom and dad who are aging, also very familiar with this entire area. Most of my weddings, because I'm a wedding planner, are in either Napa or San Francisco. And Walnut Creek is pretty equally distanced from both of these locations. It's not only close to my family, but it's also a great way for me to get either Napa or San Francisco. We could take BART into the city. After I lived in San Ramon, I moved in 2014 to a town called East Palo Alto. I was working at Meta at the time, which is located in Menlo Park. And this Palo Alto, Atherton, Menlo Park area is very affluent. This is also where a lot of the large tech companies are. Meta's in Menlo Park. We have Google, we have Apple, Netflix. We have all the big tech companies. When I was living in East Palo Alto, I was paying anywhere from $700 to $1,200 for a room in a house with 4 other girls. So for me, I was saving a lot of money with a large tech salary. I would say a large majority of the people that live in the San Francisco Bay Area are probably working in tech or in finance. And majority, if not all of those people, are making 6 figures. That's why most of them can afford to live in the Bay Area and why prices are the way that they are. Also going to be looking at Alameda, Berkeley, and Oakland as well. Also very much paying for the location itself. You're living next to a large city, so you're living in a large metropolitan area next to the beach. It has mountain access, an hour away from wine country. You pretty much have everything in the San Francisco Bay Area. The location itself is just like prime real estate. So these prices don't personally shock me because I'm used to seeing prices like this. So I'm willing, if I need to, wait for another year to move back to the San Francisco Bay Area to get everything that I want out of an apartment and have all the amenities that I want. That's the backstory to living in the Bay Area, why I want to move back.
$4 a gallon. Well, technically the average price for a gallon of regular gasoline in this country today is $4.02 a gallon. That's $1.04 more than it was before this war with Iran started, and it is the first time we've seen $4 gas since 2022. The average for a gallon of diesel is $5.45. That is $1.69 more than last month. And that means we should all probably be bracing ourselves because prices for everything that has to travel by truck, like food and goods, is probably going to get more expensive. On top of that, jet fuel is also skyrocketing, which is probably going to impact the cost of your next plane ride. And of course, going to impact the cost of everything that has to travel by plane. Of course, these spiking gas, diesel, and jet fuel prices are all happening because of the war with Iran, and they probably won't stop going up until the Strait of Hormuz is reopened. But today, President Trump just basically told our allies, you do it. We're over it. He posted, build up some delayed courage, go to the strait and just take it, meaning oil. You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done. Go get your own oil. That's an interesting take, given that it was the United States and Israel that started this war with Iran, which then led to Iran doing exactly what many people expected Iran would do, which is choke off the Strait of Hormuz and a ton of the global oil supply. And now the U.S. is saying to our allies, good luck, you fix it. You fix what we started. And then Trump threw in an insult there just to add some flavor. Now, I'm going to talk about why this kind of tone with our allies is something we should all be paying attention to in a second. But first, I want to talk about the Strait of Hormuz specifically, because the president is justifying this idea of passing off the security of the strait to our allies because Trump keeps claiming the United States doesn't need oil from the Strait of Hormuz, so it's not our problem if it's closed or if it stays closed. But I'm telling you, while it's true, we don't get a lot of our oil from the strait. It absolutely is our problem if it stays closed. Now, I don't know how many more times I have to say it, but oil is a global commodity. Therefore, when there are disruptions in one part of the world when it comes to oil, that impacts oil prices for the entire world, including the United States. Don't believe me? Look at the gas prices. They keep going up, right? And it's because of this war with Iran and because the strait remains closed, which is causing a major global oil disruption. Think logically. If Trump's claim is true and the oil from the strait is irrelevant to us in the United States, then why are our gas prices continuing to go up? As you noodle that one, let's take it a step further. What do you think global oil prices are going to look like if the United States just claims victory, walks away from this war with Iran, and doesn't secure and reopen the Strait of Hormuz? Well, I can show you a picture of what's been happening. This is from the International Monetary Fund. This is a chart of the volume of tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. That is what happened right after the war started. Do you see that dramatic drop-off in ships going through the strait? If the strait remains closed, that's going to continue to stay low, which then is going to continue to drive up oil prices. The IMF wrote in this blog post, although the war could shape the global economy in different ways, all roads lead to higher prices and slower growth. A short conflict might send oil and gas prices soaring before markets adjust, while a long one could keep energy expensive and strain countries that rely on imports. Now, let's talk real quickly about this tone the president is taking with our allies. The fact is, as I have reported repeatedly, NATO is a defensive alliance. NATO springs into action when one of its members is attacked, not when one of its members decides to launch a war. On top of that, if a NATO ally wants to go on the offensive, the rest of the NATO allies are usually, not always, but usually consulted before the strike happens. None of that applies to what President Trump and Israel did in Iran. But it's up to you to decide how you feel about Trump's language towards our allies. But I will remind you, as you're trying to think that through, having allies in this dangerous world is pretty important, and it takes years and years to build trust and gain allies. It doesn't happen overnight, but tearing down alliances, that happens pretty quickly and may not be repairable. Just something to think about.
So for all the people out there who say they don't really like to talk about politics, why do you follow politics so much? You should really get a life. Well, it looks like politics is about to hit your gas tank because it's $4 a gallon right now, the average in the United States. That's why we follow politics, people, because it affects our everyday lives. And the people who say that they don't really want to get involved in politics is because the system is working just fine for them. It's men who show up in an emergency room and they operate on them right away when their life is at risk. And there will still be people out there who don't really care that gas has gone up because they have plenty of money, but it affects everything else. It affects our community. So next time somebody tells you that you shouldn't be paying attention so much to what's going on in our country, you can remind them of this. Gas prices are through the roof because we put an orange turd who has no idea what he's doing, who has surrounded himself with people who have no idea what they're doing.
What if I told you that if you didn't finish eating all of your food by the end of the day, I'm throwing it out? What if I told you that if you want a place to live, you need to win a weekly auction where the rules change every month depending on how many desperate people there are, even though I have thousands of empty rooms? What if I told you that in order to keep your lights on, you need to pay me a monthly subscription, even though the power is working just fine? What if I told you that I had thousands of medications and medical resources readily available, but if you couldn't afford to buy one, you either had to convince me why I should give it to you, or you just die? If I personally restricted your access to food, shelter, energy, medical treatment, you would call me a tyrant. But when our system does that to us, we just call that the economy. This is how capitalism works. It creates artificial scarcity. It creates a world where we take necessities from the masses to give luxuries to the classes. There's always enough resources, but there's never enough distribution. There's never enough access.
Okay, so my husband and I are moving from New Jersey to South Carolina to open a business. And one thing I didn't expect was drastically how different the price of everything would be. I mean, we know New Jersey is getting out of hand, but it's unbelievable. So we have a dog, and his insurance policy was going to renew May 1st for New Jersey. So I called the insurance company and I said, we're moving to South Carolina. I need to give you an updated address because I know the premiums can be different. Our yearly cost for his insurance in New Jersey was going to be $1,086. So that's roughly $90 a month. I gave them my updated address and they came back to me and they were like, okay, same exact coverage, same exact policy, same exact dog, $690. Cut the price nearly in half, just in a different state. It is absolutely unaffordable to live here anymore.
I struggle every day, and now I'm taking care of my mom who's older, being denied simple things like breathing meds. So gas, what are you going to do? So I don't eat this week because I have to take mom to the doctor's tomorrow.
If you could pick one word to describe the economy, your economic situation right now under these conditions, one word to describe that.
Desolate.
Guys, can I rant for a sec about energy costs in Central Ohio? Our utility bills for winter of 2026 have been $730 more than our winter utility bills in 2025. These are our utilities in 2025. We live in a 2,500 square foot house. We do have electric heat, and so that does obviously increase electric costs. And now these were our utility bills for winter 2026. Now, we did have one exceptional cold week, but was that one cold week equivalent to paying $725 more for the season? Some things to note. We keep our heat at 64 degrees, which is arguably very cold. We've replaced windows and doors since last year. The windows that we haven't replaced, we put the shrink wrap on them. We have the draft covers at the ends of doors. We are good stewards of trying to preserve energy consumption. This was our cost to run our home in 2026. How are people surviving their day-to-day expenses? We have good jobs and we can pay our utilities and food and medicine, but it's getting to the point where I think even people who were above the poverty line, before the past couple of years, are quickly going to find that paying for all the necessities of the day-to-day aren't feasible. And as a primary care provider, this is really scaring me. So I want to ask, is this because of the data centers? I know Central Ohio has the most data centers in the state, and Ohio itself has over 200 data centers. We are the 5th highest state for the amount of data centers we have. So please, for the love of God, stop using ChatGPT. Use your own brain. Stop generating stupid-ass photos on ChatGPT. If I wanted this to be a 10-minute long TikTok, I would talk about the governing body in the state of Ohio. But I'm going to try to keep my peace today. Anyways, it's becoming increasingly unaffordable to live in Central Ohio, and I wanted to know if anybody else was feeling this way too.
How do you plan on decreasing energy costs? We already know they are higher. Exactly. We already know our bills are too high. We all feel this. And the problem is that too many extra costs keep getting piled onto your monthly bill. Wildfire work, grid upgrades, delivery charges, and utility overhead. My plan is simple and pragmatic. Stop treating families like the automatic wallet for every new expense. We need cheaper financing for major projects, tougher oversight of utilities, and a system where the biggest energy users help pay for the infrastructure they drive. And for example, we have the opportunity to stop overpaying for wildfire safety. We could take undergrounding and hardening out of the utility profit model, finance it with low-cost bonds, bid the work competitively, and pass the savings to customers, not shareholders. If you agree, comment Kelman, tell us what's on your mind.
What happened structurally is that not only did we lose people that were middle to upper middle class, making $200,000 or more in Massachusetts. But the people that we gained is questionable, right? I feel like this is a 100% nuclear scenario. You figure the people that left were the ones paying taxes. The people that came are the ones that are living off of taxes that we pay. That's the honest to God truth, guys. That is what's happening here. People like Healy, Mariano, the AG, Spilka, all of these people, they added more fuel to the fire.
The President of the United States has just announced that he's cutting off all federal funding to blue states. This would be the collapse of the United States of America if he is not prevented from doing this. This is an illegal seizure of spending power. This is a collapse of federalism, and it is a constitutional coup. Infrastructure in states will come to a screeching halt, so construction workers will lose their jobs en masse. Road projects will end. Transit projects will end. Medicaid care will be shut off. Hospitals will close. Nurses and doctors won't get paid, and nursing care facilities will shutter. School lunches, food assistance, public workers, and state budgets will completely collapse. This will cause the loss of life and irreparable harm to children, to the elderly, to veterans, to working families all across this country. And we will officially be an authoritarian government. Our Constitution will be null and void. This is serious, and we should take it serious. Congress needs to act now. Democrats and Republicans. He is destroying the United States of America as we know it.
Serena Russo is so fucking far out of touch with reality. And I want to comment on it because I got similar comments on my video about the cost of living, and similar vibe comments again also saying like, why do you shop at Woolworths and Coles? What you guys are seeming to miss, and what she's fucking missing, is accessibility, right? Not everyone is capable of working a second and third job. There is a lot of disabled people in this country, partially and fully, right? Sometimes people can only work a part-time job. The other thing on that is, like, especially since the price of fuel has skyrocketed, going to somewhere other than Coles and Woolworths might just not be fucking accessible for someone. Like, particularly with me, like, I'm chronically ill. Sometimes I'm okay to do things, sometimes I'm not. I struggle with energy and feeling nauseous and like getting to like a pass out level, so sometimes going into the shops is just not an accessible thing for me, and so I order online. Yeah, and for someone like me, I can't be working 2 and 3 jobs. I can't. I will get burnt out. That is not in my capability. And I'm sure there is a lot of Aussies like this. And it's like, what would you like us to do? I can't work more. And with a lack of money and the price of things rising, I don't really get the luxury to choose where the hell I go and what the hell I do necessarily, you know? I think people need to realize that everyone's different, everyone's situation's different, and maybe a little bit of an open mind or a little bit of nuance to the fucking situation, right? I don't know. But anyway, the whole mentality it's kind of self-absorbed, it's out of touch with reality. Anyway, that's my input.
Did you know that the minimum wage in America has been $7.25 an hour since 2009? If it was adjusted for inflation, that'd be almost $11 today. Meanwhile, Mike Johnson makes over $200,000 a year. And he has actively campaigned against raising the minimum wage, not once, but twice. My name is Matt Gromwald, and I'm running for Congress in Louisiana's 4th District because I believe that our representatives should represent us. If you think your families deserve better, like, volunteer, donate. It's time to hold our representatives accountable.
Reality is that most people are not one paycheck away from being rich, but one paycheck from being broke. And when I say that, I mean, all it takes is one emergency. They're just one emergency away from being broke. And it's not because they're irresponsible, but because everything is so expensive that there's no room to even build a cushion. One car repair, one medical bill, one unexpected expense, losing your job, something, anything, and it wipes everything out. Our economy has become so inflated that people can't keep up. We can't even afford to have savings anymore. What is the average person supposed to do when they're already living paycheck to paycheck? But also, what is the answer? Do you have savings? Do we have retirement plans anymore? Is that even like a thing anymore? I don't know. Thoughts?
The cost of rent in New York City has risen sharply within the last 5 years, according to a study released on Thursday. The study released by Smart Asset analyzed data from Zillow's Observed Rent Index between February 2025 and February 2026. New York City ranks 5th on the list. The average cost of rent in 2025 for the city was $3,517. In 2026, it went up to $3,706. That is a 5.36% rise compared to the previous year. Over the past 5 years, New York City rents have increased by nearly 50%, according to the study. Other cities that have experienced large rent changes include San Francisco, Reno, Nevada, Chicago, Virginia Beach, Virginia, and Lexington, Kentucky. Meanwhile, cities like Austin, Washington, D.C., San Antonio, and Phoenix saw the biggest rental decreases, according to the study.
How much do you actually need to live comfortably in New York City? There's an article by CBS. I had to click on it. Long story short, I believe it's $158,000, so just shy of $160,000 for a single adult. And that takes into account saving, having discretionary spending, going out and having fun, living in the city, probably with a nice building, doorman, elevator, in-unit washer, all that. I find this extremely interesting because one of the most populous cities in the world, even though as high as the salaries can be here, the median sits somewhere around that 81, 82,000 mark. Average might be a little bit higher, but nowhere near that 160,000 figure that CBS stated. At the end of the day, it's subjective based on your own lifestyle, but I am curious to see if anyone else has a number or a figure in mind of what it takes to live comfortably in the city as a single adult.
Guys, I've officially hit that stage of being an adult where I am coming on to complain and moan about the cost of living. Like, sorry, but what is actually going on? Like, what is going on in this world? Why is it so expensive? I do not get it. How are people affording, like, how are solo people affording to live on their own, run a house, get their shopping in, buy themselves clothes, get all the essentials, and just live day to day? I honestly do not get it. So first up, council tax. Now this is obviously the first year that I've lived in a house that I'm paying council tax because I was living with my mum. And I always remember anytime she spoke about council tax, I never really had a clue. But now that I've got my own house, I'm like, sorry, but what are we paying council tax for? And why am I getting a letter to tell me that it's going up, I think it's like £28 extra a month? Sorry, but for what? What exactly? Because see, when I was younger and I lived at home, my bins got emptied every single week. And I remember when they got emptied every 2 weeks, it was an absolute like, wow, what is going on? Sorry, but I think my bins get emptied like once a month. I can like, what are we paying this council tax for? The brown bin, I need to pay £50 for a permit, and my other bins get emptied, what, every 3 weeks, I think it is? Couldn't even tell you, to be honest. The grass, like, and all the greenery out in the streets, sorry, but it's not very well kept. The round about the pavements, there's like moss and all that. So what actually do we pay council tax for? Someone please actually educate me, because from where I'm standing, I think we're pure mugs. Like, why are we paying this? Same with the TV licence. I actually feel like an absolute fanny paying that. I don't even watch BBC. Don't really even watch the telly, but I'm like, why are we paying council tax? Why are we paying council tax? But why on earth are we paying TV licence? And I know there's a lot of people that say I don't pay it, but I'm also a big shite bag. I will definitely get caught not paying that, because trust me, I get caught doing absolute anything and everything that I shouldn't be doing. And petrol, what is going on with the petrol? So I know obviously petrol does fluctuate, like it goes up and down all the time, right? But for ages, I feel like petrol's been extortionate, but the actual petrol must be weaker, because I'm filling my tank up constantly and my car must be thirsty, because I'm looking at it and I think, how am I at 30 miles already? Now, granted, I'm off maternity leave. I'm doing a lot more driving about because I'm going from here to there, but not that much that I need to be filling my tank up every single week. And I'm in the shops, right, and I was going to get mince the other night for the dinner. Now, they're trying to promote a healthy lifestyle and all that nonsense, but sorry, why is the 5% fat mince like nearly £8? I do not get it. I seriously do not get it. It actually makes me think, like, how do big families cope? Honestly, it's the same. Easter eggs. Now, I know you don't need to be buying Easter eggs, right? That is totally up to you if you want to be buying them or not. Why is there Easter eggs in the shop for like £15? I don't get it. Bring back the days when you just got a normal size Easter egg, not a wee toty shitty thing, and you got your Easter egg that actually just naturally halved as well, can we add in? Same as a cream egg one, you got 2 cream eggs. What is going on? Like, what actually is going on? It's like this government just pure want to make it impossible for people to actually enjoy life. I mean, that sounds a wee bit morbid, right? But, oh, I'm at that point, I just think, seriously, why is everything this expensive? Anyways, that's my adult rant for the day. But honestly, let me know in the comments, what actually are we paying council tax for, because that's grinding on my gears. Same with my gas and electricity. It's going up to £186 this month, or next month. Sorry, I live in a 3-bedroom small house. Like, well, not small, I don't mean small, that sounds, people be like, small house, 3 bedrooms. It's not a big fancy 3-bedroom house. I live in a 4 in a block, so it's only one size. Like, I don't get it, honestly. If this is what being an adult's like, mind they used to say, your school days are the best days of your life, and I'm like, no. I mean, I still say no, but they're absolutely not, man. The days I misread telling me I had to go and do that bleep test, no, they're not the best days of my life. Absolutely not. They're the worst days. Anyways, that's my wee rant for the